Howdy, this is LiveStrider. Welcome back, traveler. It's time we once again scour the globe for the most subpar, lousy cartoons the world has ever seen. And today, we're going to step into the fine country of Sweden. Now, normally when you think Sweden, you probably think of meatballs and broken furniture, but they also keep a secret pile of nonsense, ugly, zero-budget cartoons. So let's check out the top 5 worst Swedish cartoons. And as always, if you do like these cartoons, that's great. It's just my usual silly personal opinion, and I'm glad you can enjoy it. Anyway, let's do this countdown. Number 5. Three Friends and Jerry by the ever-talented Magnus Carlsen. Nickelodeon, you can be so reliably awful nowadays. Why do these kids have tin cans for heads? You really can't question the logic of Swedish animation. Maybe the Swedish government dictates that all Swedish animation must look equally ugly. Fox received an overwhelming number of complaints for airing this monstrosity because of all this sexual content. And while I don't like to censor sex that much, when the kids spend half the intro looking up the skirts of girls, you can't really blame the parents. Episodes seem to range from the boys dreaming about cross-dressing with fake jugs to being chased by hobos. Sweden seems to have this bizarre obsession with sex in all their kids' cartoons, and I just don't understand it. Half the time, the actors couldn't even be bothered to identify the gender of the character they're playing. I mean, I honestly can't identify if this character is a man or a woman. Three Friends and Jerry is crass, unsightly, poorly voice acted, and just an overall displeasure to watch. And for number 4, Da Mob. Imagine if Beavis and Butthead somehow had an uglier, stupider Swedish brother, and the animators couldn't actually afford to animate backgrounds, so they just threw in a bunch of pictures of their apartment. And for some reason, there's always 3 voices speaking over top of one another. And I honestly have no idea why either. My only theory is that the budget was so low that they couldn't even afford to bring in someone to press the mute button before translating over top of the old voices. Are the animators just hobos? Is their payment a hamburger? A nice hard floor to sleep on? They couldn't even afford a female voice actor to come into the studio to do the female voices. I guess there was only male hobos that day. I'm starting to want to form a union for these poor animators. Some of the mob's finest humor include fat guy exercise jokes and an overweight doctor making faces with his belly. And of course, since it's Swedish and it's a cartoon, you can guarantee there's plenty of smutty sex jokes in there as well. Da Mob's low-brow, low-budget, bad animation, and just overall one of Sweden's lousiest cartoons. And the third worst Swedish cartoon is Charlie Brown I'm just going to call it grown-up Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown grew up and somehow became even less interesting and Swedish for some reason. This cartoon is an easy competitor for the most boring cartoon in the world. I'm sure there's more boring cartoons out there, but I can't for the life of me remember them, since they couldn't afford more than 2 frames of animation. Most of the episode consists of our hero lying down and blinking. The poor narrator has all the enthusiasm of a man who's just woken up from a coma.
Man skulle kanske ta och köpa hem lite bröd nu när det är så.
And once again, our hero will randomly fantasize about cross-dressing. Why does Sweden have this strange obsession with sex and cross-dressing? There's nothing else that can be said about it. Swedish Charlie Brown is as bland as tofu. And the second worst Swedish cartoon is Big Sister, Little Brother. Big Sister, Little Brother is basically just a bunch of kids screaming into a microphone, with a narrator that sounds like he's reading straight from the English translation book.
Little brother takes the bucket and spade.
In good old Swedish tradition, the animation is zero-budget stick figures. But hey, at least it's a harmless, little kids cartoon. Unlike all the other Swedish cartoons so far, at least it's not obsessed with sex. I mean, they're just innocent kids playing in a sandpit.
Big sister laughs so much, her boots fall off.
Okay, that's a little weird, but I'll run with it.
Big sister laughs so much, her trousers fall off.
Sweden is just creepy. We're moving on. And the number one worst Swedish cartoon is Robin by Magnus Carlsen. Returning to the stage is Magnus Carlsen. This cartoon falls into that special category of animation, the kind that managed to make a hideous trash pile look like a beautiful, touching work of art. How do these Swedish cartoons keep getting pug-fuglier? Do they want all their kids to vomit up their breakfast before they go to school? It looks like 12-ounce mouse was scrunched up with dirty paper then sent through the toilet.
You know, industrial.
Our hero Robin talks like he's a robot. Apparently they couldn't even afford a hobo voice actor this time. They just had to trust the job to a computer. Robin's basically an unemployed lout, and this cartoon follows his day-to-day routines. Whether that be making out with badly drawn strippers or peeing on a drain. And sometimes Robin will just forget to transition scenes and will just sit on the same scene for 20 seconds. I guess to kill time? I don't know. The whole series of Robin is like I'm listening to a stoner drone on about the most boring dream he ever had. And it turns out our good buddy Magnus Carlsen did every single voice for the show. And yes, including the women. Well, you gotta admit that's dedication on a zero budget. It's hard to not admire our good buddy Carlsen's dedication to such a horrendous project. I suppose if you like to hear a stoner's life story, it might be worth a watch. But personally, I consider it the number one, fuggliest, worst Swedish cartoon. But for all I do complain about these, it's actually been really pleasant looking all over the globe for some of the lousiest cartoons. And these animation studios don't get anywhere near the budget of what we'd expect in somewhere like America, so they have to make do with what they have. At least people like Magnus are just trying to earnestly express their ideas onto paper. And sometimes, honesty is one of the most valuable things animation can have. Do you think I missed a particularly lousy Swedish cartoon? If you think so, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.